Well, I want to thank Dr. Capasso and all of you for inviting me to be with your classes today. I really appreciate this opportunity to be with all of you. Let's take a moment now to become part of this gathering. If we were in the same room together, we would be sitting in a circle and we'd be able to look at each other and we'd be able to feel each other's presence. See if you can sense that in this virtual conference room. During this seminar, I'm going to ask you to participate. Right there in front of your computer or your mobile device, I invite you to do some self-care activities. My hope is that some of these activities will appeal to you and you'll weave them into your daily lives after this seminar. Even if you feel a bit self-conscious, let's start with one right now by coming together and centering ourselves as a group. So I'll ask you to stand. There'll be a couple times during this where we'll be standing. And close your eyes and place one hand over your heart and the other hand over your lower belly. Have your feet be about hips distance apart and ground your feet. Have your knees be soft and feel the support of the floor and relax a bit deeper into that support. On your next inhale, fill your lower belly and then your ribs and then your upper chest and then fully exhale. Repeat this 3-part breath at your own pace of breathing. And notice your body. Notice your thoughts. Notice your energy. And when you feel ready to do so, open your eyes. And now go ahead and take your seat again. And as you settle into your sitting position, feel your seat as it connects to the surface of whatever it is you're sitting on. Place the thumb of your left hand in the palm of your right hand and give the thumb a little squeeze, just enough for the thumb to feel that it's being held. Hold your thumb in this way for the next 2 minutes. Continue that 3-part breath, lower belly, ribs, upper chest, and exhale. We are experiencing 2 ways of moving energy: conscious attention to a 3-part breath and Jin Shin Jitsu. Jin Shin Jitsu is one of the meridian-based disciplines, like acupuncture. Instead of using needles, it uses hand contact. One of the many reasons I like Jin Shin Jitsu is that it can be experienced both in the way that we're doing it now, which is in self-care, and also you can give or receive it with another, for instance, on a massage table. During this seminar, you may practice Jin Shin Jitsu by holding each of your fingers for about 2 minutes. So you're starting with your thumb. After about 2 minutes, move to your index finger. 2 minutes later, move to your middle finger, and so on. And when you've finished with your pinky finger, then take your thumb and press it into the middle of your palm for 2 minutes. When you finish with this hand, then switch to the other hand and start with your thumb. The finger holds, the 3-part breath, and the other self-care exercises that we will do during this seminar are powerful tools. They strengthen us when there is no coronavirus epidemic, and they strengthen us when there is. These practices help us develop strong healing abilities within ourselves, which is why this seminar is called The Doctor Is In. Professor Capasso tells me that the students who have joined this seminar are studying a variety of disciplines, including occupational therapy, education, health and human services, and genetic counseling. Today, we're focusing on integrative health, which informs and enhances all of those areas of study and much more. I am co-founder of International Integrators, an organization that I invite you to become involved with. Our mission is to promote integrative health globally. We define integrative health as bringing together the best in conventional medicine, whole plant-based food, movement, and mind, body, spirit disciplines. Everyone I've ever met who's interested in integrative health has a story about the journey. Oftentimes they themselves or a loved one experienced a mind, body, spirit therapy and benefited from it. I hope that later on in this seminar, you'll be able to share some of your stories. Like many, my story has involved having experiences that I did not expect to have. I have learned that important information comes to us when we least expect it, when we're not looking, when our guard is down. The whole world's guard was down when the coronavirus pandemic began. Lots of important information has been coming to us during these past several weeks. I imagine you have questions and we can talk together about them during this seminar. My guard was down when I was a young mother working 120 hours a week as an intern in a hospital, and our 5-year-old daughter came home from a sleepover and insisted that she would never again eat something that lived, breathed, had a face, or a mother. Overnight, she went from being perfectly happy with the food that we served her to being a vegetarian. My guard was down when a patient blamed me for not telling him that acupuncture would help his heel spur. You may already know that a heel spur is a bony growth on the heel, and it hurts to walk. This guy was a stressed out corporate executive and a runner. He had to run to manage his stress. So I did everything I knew to do: ice, rest, anti-inflammatory medications, orthopedic referral for cortisone shots. He kept running because he couldn't help it. Then his opposite hip started hurting. He got grouchier and grouchier, and I began to dread his office visits. Then one day he walked into my office with no limp, and that's when he said, "I ought to sue you for malpractice." Why? You did not tell me that acupuncture would take care of my pain. I could have gotten defensive. I could have dismissed the association he was making between the acupuncture and the resolution of his symptoms. Instead, I got curious. I called the New England School of Acupuncture and said, "I'm an internist who just had a humbling experience." I got the name of the dean of the school and I spent a day with him. And that day changed my life. It opened my eyes and my mind. I changed the way I took histories from patients. In addition to all the questions I'd been taught to ask in medical school, I also asked, "Are you doing anything for your health that you have not told me about?" That's how I learned that my patients were doing all kinds of things that they normally would not tell a doctor about, disciplines that we now think of as uniting the mind, the body, and the spirit. When I learned of my patients' experiences with mind, body, spirit disciplines, I would ask them for the names of their practitioners, and I'd make appointments with them to experience and talk about their work. That's how I began to learn about acupuncture, massage, yoga, tai chi, Jinshin Jitsu, and many other disciplines. Many mind, body, spirit disciplines are actually quite traditional in that they've been around a long time. Jinshin Jitsu, which you're doing as you move through your fingers, is about 4,000 years old. Acupuncture, about 2,500 years old. Yoga is about 3,000 years old. The discipline of integrative health focuses on offering experiences that humans have been doing sometimes for thousands of years and bringing scientific study to these experiences. So if you want to develop your natural and powerful abilities to heal, your inner healer, you might find it interesting to see some definitions of doctor from the Merriam-Webster dictionary. Let's put the words "I am" before each definition and say this out loud with me, even if it feels weird to be talking wherever you are. So start with the first one. I am a learned teacher. I am a person skilled in healing arts. I am a person who restores, repairs, or fine-tunes things. Can you see how these definitions fit in with healing disciplines that have been around, that have endured for thousands of years? Please interrupt your finger holds for a moment and just place both your hands over your heart. The doctor is in here. Repeat this after me. I am my own doctor. I am my own doctor. I teach myself. I teach myself. I develop skills in healing myself. I develop skills in healing myself. I restore, repair, and fine-tune my health. I restore, repair, and fine-tune my health. Good. Now you can resume your finger holds and your 3-part breath. Close your eyes and listen to these words. I may partner with others to help me learn the skills that I need or receive care that they are trained to offer me. I may major in something in university or graduate school to learn some skills. While doing so, I acknowledge that the power is right here within me to be the motivating force in my healing journey. Take a big breath as you reflect on those words and open your eyes. One reason that integrative health has become a recognized movement and now a specialty is to bring the patient to the center of the medical team. In International Integrators, we use the word participant instead of patient. So this is how we see it in International Integrators. We define integrative health as bringing together the best in conventional medicine, food, movement, and mind-body-spirit disciplines. You can see that the image is made up of 2 intertwined infinity signs. It illuminates themes of light and balance and harmony. The light in the center represents the light that's within each of us, powering our journeys, our choices, our life experiences. That is where the participant is. The lights in the periphery represent pathways that invite us to move toward the center. The symmetry and elegance of the form of the model and the seamless character of the design give a sense of endless partnership, of evolution, of movement toward harmony and balance. For us, this represents the healing journey. People who seek an integrative approach to their health hail from many different perspectives and experiences. The image unites these different perspectives and experiences. Some of us come from the perspective that is influenced by the conventional medicine system. We may come from a perspective that involves our food. Some of us come from experiences that involve movement of our bodies. And some of us come from mind, body, spirit disciplines that may have roots many thousands of years old. With our conscious attention to breath and our finger holds, we're experiencing ways of moving energy through 2 mind, body, spirit disciplines. As I mentioned, the finger holds that you're doing are part of a discipline called Jin Shin Jitsu. Perhaps you've heard of meridians. Jin Shin Jitsu is one of the meridian-based disciplines. Meridians are energy pathways in our bodies. Like acupuncture, Jinshinjutsu works with energy pathways. Instead of using needles like acupuncture does, it uses hand contact. You can think of meridians as rivers and energy as the water in the river. The energy or water can move freely, or it can hit obstacles and be blocked. In the body, when energy is blocked, it creates imbalances which can result in illness as well as other problems. Energy therapies help open up the blockages, allowing the stuck energy to move freely. During the rest of this seminar, and in any situation in which you're not otherwise using your hands, you may practice self-care Jinshinjutsu by holding each of your fingers, and thus connect with the 12 meridians on each side of your body. In my early years as a physician, I mainly saw people who were ill and seeking help from within the conventional medicine system. Many found that they needed more than what that system was offering. They were entering the healing journey of integrative health from the vantage point of conventional medicine. Even from the perspective of a pandemic, the two top contenders in the competition among things that sicken and kill humans in developed countries are cancer and heart disease. In 1930, heart disease replaced infectious disease as the biggest threat. And by 1940, cancer, which had until then occupied the 8th cause of death spot, crept up to number 2 and stayed there. What happened to create these shifts? Advances in conventional medicine improved health and lifespan through the development of antibiotics, antivirals, vaccines, antimicrobial and surgical procedures. Greater offerings in diagnostic testing allowed us to know better what was going on when people became ill. At the same time, we were becoming more sedentary, stressed, and eating more and more animal and processed products, oftentimes while sitting with our mobile devices, our computers, or watching TV. These changes helped move heart disease and cancer to the top killer spots. During the 20th century, the conventional medicine system increasingly became a primary part of people's lifestyles. A 2013 Mayo Clinic report found that 70% of Americans take at least one prescription drug. In 2017, the FDA reported that Americans spend $34.3 billion on non-prescription drugs. Do you see this? The medical system is the 3rd most common cause of death among Americans. Right after heart disease and cancer, it is what is most likely to kill us. It's true that the medical system offers a vast array of medications, tests, procedures, and hospital experiences that help us when we have certain acute medical issues. It also offers medication errors, which cause 1 death per day and injure 1.3 million people in the US annually, according to the FDA. Unnecessary surgery and testing, other preventable errors in hospitals, hospital-borne infections, and adverse drug effects contribute to injuries and deaths. So what does this say to us? For me, it says that like any risky venture, we should assess the risks and benefits of getting involved in that system. We engage the medical system when it's worth the risk to do so, and we stay away from it when the risk is too high. When we have acute disease, conventional medicine offers benefit over risk. Many infections that used to kill us can now be treated with medications. Conditions that require surgery, anesthesia, and sterile technique are now able to be cured. We can diagnose conditions with laboratory and imaging studies and get better understandings of what's going on when we're ill. Vaccines protect entire populations from epidemics that used to be part of what we expected would kill or maim us. Many acute diseases no longer kill us because of the miracles of modern medicine. Conventional medicine is part of our definition of integrative health because it's uniquely able to cure acute disease. The conventional medicine system is currently a vital part of teaching us about the coronavirus pandemic, helping us to know how to prevent getting infected, how to prevent infecting others, and developing medications and vaccines. At the same time, the conventional medicine system cannot cure or prevent coronavirus. Its main role is to give breathing support in the form of oxygen, or in severe situations, ventilation. So part of the reason to quarantine and do all of the self-care that we're talking about in this seminar is so that we don't get the virus in the first place. And if we do, and our symptoms don't require oxygen or ventilation, we stay away from doctors' offices and hospitals so that we don't infect others. It's important to know the place that conventional medicine has in our lives and not be looking for it to do what it cannot do. While it's uniquely miraculous with acute disease, it falls short with chronic disease. And the most likely health problems that we have are not acute, they are chronic. People now increasingly suffer from lifestyle-related conditions, including respiratory diseases, obesity, diabetes, allergies, arthritis, autoimmune conditions, chronic pain, sleep disorders, anxiety, depression, and let's not forget the two top killers, heart disease and cancer. Chronic disease invites us to take more responsibility for our own health, and integrative health offers ways to do that through the food we eat, the mind, body, spirit disciplines with which we engage, and the ways in which we move our bodies. So I'm going to ask you to stand again. And again, with your feet a little wider than your hips. And stretch your arms up toward the ceiling. This is a power pose. Modern life has most of us sitting endless hours at our desks, watching screens and disconnected from our senses. What's the result? We often feel anxious, uninspired, and depleted. We may gain weight. We may develop chronic health problems. Now, keeping your feet where they are, place your fists on your low back in Wonder Woman pose. Movement of the body is vitally important to regain balance. Each day needs to include some form of movement. Amy Cuddy is a researcher at the Harvard Business School. Perhaps you've seen her 2012 TED Talk about the psychology of power, influence, nonverbal communication, and prejudice. I gave you a link in your handout. The research looked at how nonverbal expressions of power, expansive, open, space-occupying postures like the one we're in right now, affect people's feelings, behaviors, and hormone levels. Amy and her team found that adopting body postures associated with dominance and power, like this pose and the one we did before, for as little as 2 minutes, can increase various helpful hormones and cause better performance in job interviews. So again, stretch your arms above your head. So the next time you're in an office building's restroom, look above the stalls for evidence that someone is about to enter a job interview and is spending 2 minutes getting ready. Stay in this pose for a minute more. Our bodies hold vast wisdom and intelligence, from the precise communication of our nervous systems to the power of our muscles. Moving our bodies helps us connect to that power within us. Those power poses are exercises that you can do during your day. Even doing them for a few seconds is beneficial. Now place one hand over your heart and the other hand over your lower belly. And go ahead and take your seat again. reconnecting your seat to the surface of whatever it is you're sitting on. Notice your feet grounded to the floor. Resuming your 3-part breath, pick up your finger holds where you left off. What sort of food do we recommend in an integrative approach to healing? We recommend eating a diet primarily consisting of plant-based whole food. Specifically, this includes whole grains, legumes, fruits, and vegetables. Our food recommendations are motivated by science that has come forward since I was growing up in the 50s and 60s. These include public health studies that look at what people eat and what diseases they get, and science that helps us understand the process of inflammation in the body. My learning began with one book that changed my life. The information I'm sharing with you now is in your handout, so you can consider reading some of the materials that have influenced us. The China study was published in 2005. When I read this book, I was horrified to realize that it recommended very different nutritional advice from what I had learned and was using to guide my care of patients. My learning had come from governmental guidelines, the American Medical Association recommendations, and what I had learned from my parents about balanced meals. In medical school, we got no courses in nutrition. And I'm sorry to say that 4 decades later, that has not changed much in the US medical education system. The China study emerged from a collaboration among 3 academic medical centers on 3 continents, studying populations in rural China over many years. The book was co-authored by Colin Campbell, an eminent PhD nutritional scientist, and his son, Tom Campbell, who is a medical doctor. Many additional studies are available which confirm the findings that a diet comprised of mostly whole plant-based foods is good for promoting health, supporting the immune system, and reversing disease. In your handout is a letter that Dr. Colin Campbell wrote recently that I think you will find illuminating. And on this slide is a little synopsis of it. His words, "Here is a hopeful, even revolutionary idea, namely, people can defend themselves against the worst effects of the COVID-19 infection and help flatten the curve of hospitalizations by strengthening their immune systems through their food choices." If you are looking for one thing that you and every individual can do to have the biggest impact on the pandemic and on the health of all individuals, animals, and the planet, it's to transition your diet to whole plant-based foods. Why? Because novel viruses like the coronavirus that is causing this pandemic are viruses that have historically lived only in animals. They arise from the imbalances that are happening on our planet: climate change, shifts in animal habitats, deforestation, and human consumption of animal products. So I'd like to give you some quick guidelines about how to transition your way of eating toward whole plant-based foods. The 4 food groups that were very easily understood recommendations that people in my age group grew up with. They were so simple. Fruit, veggies, bread, grain, a steak, rice pilaf, a glass of milk, and green beans was a perfect meal, and it was immediately obvious. Dr. Tom Campbell, who co-authored the China study, makes thinking about food groups even easier because he proposes 3 groups instead of 4. Tom suggests that we can categorize most things in the grocery store into one of 3 food groups: animal products, processed plant fragments, and whole plants. When you're walking around the grocery store, he suggests that we ask 2 questions. Is this product from a plant or an animal? And if it is a plant, Is it similar to what I could find on a tree or a bush or in the dirt on a farm? If the answer to that question is yes, buy it and eat it. In your handout are additional names of authors and scientists whose work about food you could also consider getting to know. With the time we have here, my main message is to encourage you to do as I have done and get educated. Because as of yet, this science is not taught in most medical schools, nor in most US nutrition or health programs. The reasons for this are primarily political and economic, and those themes are explored in the films Forks Over Knives and Plant Pure Nation. Both films have robust websites, recipes, and programs that you may find illuminating. I make a small appearance in the Plant Pure Nation film as one physician voice who speaks to the power of eating a primarily whole plant-based diet in preventing and healing disease. Even if you have not made it completely through your finger holds, I'll ask you to switch to another Jin Shinjitsu hold. For this one, place one hand over your opposite shoulder and hold it like a coat hook. The other hand goes into the crease where your thigh meets your belly. Engage your three-part breath. Inhale into your lower belly, ribs, upper chest, and exhale. And keep your breath going while you continue this hold. In a few minutes, I will tell you more about this hold that you're doing. Let's talk more in depth about coronaviruses and how integrative health helps us care for ourselves in this new world of living in a pandemic. I call this a new world because everyone's lives are different from how they were just a little while ago. This is true across the globe. Look how different things are for you. Your classes have moved online. Many people are sheltered in place. Everyone's talking about hand washing, gloves, masks, social distancing. When a big change happens, it's natural to wonder, when will this settle down? When will it end? When will things get back to normal? No one knows the answer to these questions. Not knowing is really unsettling for most of us. People like order. We like routine. To have our world disrupted like this creates tremendous uncertainty. We have a lot of feelings about all of this. And most of the feelings involve being afraid that we cannot protect ourselves and those we love from the danger of a coronavirus infection. Feelings of stress, fear, and pain suppress our immune systems, and therefore our abilities to deal with the virus if it infects us. So let's look at our feelings and what we can do with them. I understand that stress, fear, and pain are feelings that hinder my immune system from functioning at its optimal levels. I take the following actions to support my immune system. I'll ask you to read this out loud with me while you're holding this Jin Shinjitsu pose. I take responsibility for my feelings. I acknowledge them, talk about them, express them, clear them. I let others take care of their feelings. I listen generously when people invite me to do so. I decide not to engage in conflict when it is invited. It takes two to have a fight. When necessary, I shield and protect myself from others' blame and violent behavior. I am gentle and compassionate with myself and others. I know that stress, fear, and pain drive behavior during pandemics. Stress, fear, and pain are often eased by compassion and kindness. I move in the world poised to diffuse fear and pain if I encounter it. Even though I avoid physical contact, I express kindness with my smile, my caring expression, with gentle humor, with comforting words. Keep breathing, keep holding your Jinshinjutsu pose. In addition to our feelings, what else contributes to whether a virus threatens us? I have 2 slides for you about viruses, and maybe they'll spark your interest in learning more about them. Studying viruses not only helps us know what we can do to protect ourselves from being infected, we can also enhance our appreciation of what it takes for scientists to create vaccines and medications. Viruses have been around longer than most life forms on the planet, about 1.5 billion years. To give perspective, humans have been around for about 5 to 7 million years. Here are some images of 3 different viruses, and you've most likely had experience with at least 2 of them. The influenza virus is on the left, and it causes symptoms of fever, aches, and upper respiratory symptoms like sore throat, sinus congestion, and pneumonia. Infection with this virus is commonly called the flu. In the middle is the rotavirus. This causes what you might refer to as the stomach flu, fever, vomiting, stomach pain, and 5 to 8 days of lovely watery diarrhea. Illness from the coronavirus on the right starts with a fever and dry cough and progresses to body aches and headache, and then can cause severe breathing difficulties, pneumonia, and diarrhea. The outside part of each image has a few labeled structures. You'll see names like proteins. You'll see words that end in ASE, which means enzymes, glycoproteins, lipids. These are important to pay attention to because they are designed to help the virus penetrate cells. If we think of these outer virus structures as home invaders, they are the tools the virus uses to break into the door of a home. Whether or not the virus has success depends upon 2 things: the tools and the structure of the door and lock. If this door has a simple lock, a home invader with a credit card can get in. If the door and lock are credit card proof, then the invader is out of luck. If you look at the middle of each image, you can see that RNA is labeled. RNA stands for ribonucleic acid, which is a string of genes present in viruses. When these genes get in a cell, they create genetic changes in the cell. That is the ultimate effect of viruses. They introduce their genetic material into a cell, and that mixes with the cell's genetic material and causes changes. This is a cryo-electron microscope photo, computer generated, of coronaviruses attaching themselves to a cell. The cell is the green orb, and the coronaviruses are the purple tree-like looking structures. The red squiggle within the coronavirus is the RNA, the genetic material in the center. The dark purple spike penetrating the cell is made of glycoproteins and lipids, like we saw in the last slide. That's the way the virus gets into the cell. People who study viruses know that certain cells are susceptible to these spikes and others are not. In our analogy about the home invader and the door and lock, viruses that bring a credit card to their target cells will only get in if the lock is vulnerable to credit cards. If it finds a door with multiple locks, it can't get in. For instance, you may have heard that there are many coronaviruses out in the world, most of which live only in animals. The viruses that create pandemics are called novel because they are new to humans, having only lived in animals and recently transmitted themselves to humans. How do they get from animals to humans? from eating the meat and being exposed to fluids and blood of the animals. This photo comes from a February 2016 article that's in your handout, which reported on work done by an international research team that included scientists from the US, the Netherlands, and France. They developed a model of a coronavirus spike protein that promotes entry into cells. Analysis of the model is providing ideas for specific vaccine strategies. The article is chilling because it is one of the many sources that predicted back then in 2016, the pandemic that we're living through right now. An integrative health approach to this situation takes this whole picture into account. When you're in your house or your apartment alone, and you hear someone trying to break in, you go through steps to keep yourself safe. You have options because you have a warning. You hear the break-in happening. You might leave the house through another door. You might set off an alarm. You might hide. You might call the police. You might call a neighbor. So let's talk about 4 integrative health steps that you can do to deal with viruses that try to break into our cells. Before we do that, switch your hands so that your hand that was on the opposite shoulder now goes to the same side crease between your thigh and belly, and the hand that was on the crease goes to the opposite shoulder. Keep your 3-part breath going. When a virus threatens, step 1, I keep it out. Step 2, if I get exposed, I clean everything. Step 3, if the virus infects me and I get sick, I support my body's immune system. Step 4, after it leaves, I remember for the next time. Step 1, I keep it out. You have learned by now that there are specific ways to avoid coming in contact with the virus. Masks, gloves, social distancing. It's important to remember that the coronavirus lives in air for several hours and on surfaces for up to 7 days. Quarantining, wearing masks and gloves if you have to go to the store or work, practicing social distancing are all very important. We went over things you can do to support your immune system relating to your feelings, your food choices, your movement of your body, and your mind, body, spirit disciplines. Here's a list of those ideas plus additional things you can do to strengthen and support your immune system. The more you do these things, the stronger your immune system will be. These are in your handout and in the blog called Thriving in the Time of Coronavirus that I gave you a link to. I want to take you through another mind, body, spirit discipline that you can do to strengthen your connection to this list of supports. It's called EFT, or Emotional Freedom Technique. It involves tapping and speaking aloud some affirmations. I've given you information about it in your handout, including an app that you can take through, that can take you through daily tapping exercises. So let's take a break from our Jin Shin Jitsu hold for a moment and rhythmically tap the top of our heads with one hand and put our other hand over our hearts. Now, read out loud with me this list of supports. I support my immune system. I get enough sleep. I eat whole plant-based foods. I drink plenty of fluids. I drink at least 1 cup of miso soup per day. I move my body mindfully and regularly. I enjoy being in nature. I relax. I listen to music. I dance. I sing. I simplify my routines and expectations. I read. I play games, make puzzles. I cultivate attitudes of being nimble and flexible. I learn to adjust to change. I enjoy films, podcasts, YouTube videos. I laugh and joke around easily. I have fun. I meditate. I practice mindfulness. I engage in self-care. I pace my exposure to the 24/7 news cycle. I protect myself from stressful information that makes me feel frightened and powerless. Your hands back to the Jinshinjutsu hold that you were doing. Step 2. If I get exposed, I clean everything. If you have to leave your quarantine to go out, take as little with you as you can. When you return home, have a box at the door and put in it your mask, your gloves, your keys, your sunglasses, your purse, and anything else that touched surfaces or the air that other people were in. Take off your shoes and don't wear them in the house. Go straight to the sink and wash your hands for at least 20 seconds, the time it takes to sing happy birthday twice. Then wash with soap all the things that you put in the box. The soap destroys that outer layer of the virus, exposing the RNA and either weakening or killing it. Then spray your keys, glasses, purse, and other objects that were outside your home with a Clorox water mixture of 2 tablespoons of bleach and 1 quart of water. Set them aside to air dry. Clorox all the things you bought at the store. Wash your clothes, including your gloves and mask, if they're made of cloth, with detergent in the washing machine. Take a shower and clean your hair. Step 3, if the virus infects me and I get sick, I follow my doctor's guidance about whether I should stay home or be seen by medical professionals. These 7 things are in your handout, and I suggest that you print them out and post them somewhere so that you can find them when you need them. Number 7, the Jinshinjutsu hold for respiratory infections, is what you're doing right now. The first is fluids. Drink fluids to the point of peeing every 30 to 60 minutes. Focus on water, juices, and herbal teas. Do hourly steam treatments. Boil water in a saucepan, put a couple of drops of eucalyptus and tea tree essential oils after the water is boiled, and place your face over that and breathe in the steam through your mouth and your nose for about 2 minutes every hour. Place a vaporizer next to your bed so that while you're sleeping and you're not breathing steam every hour and drinking fluids and peeing every 30 to 60 minutes, you're at least breathing in wet air. Guaifenesin is found in a number of different products. In the United States, Mucinex is one of the name brands. Make sure that when you buy this medication, it has no other ingredients except guaifenesin. And just take the maximum dose for your age. For adults, it's 1,200 milligrams twice daily. Lots and lots of rest. Number 6 is miso soup with wakame, increasing it to 3 times a day as opposed to once a day that you were doing before you were sick. And this Jinshinjutsu hold. These 7 things are in your handout, and they will support any respiratory viral illness and will serve you well throughout your life. I came up with them over the course of 30 years as a primary care doctor, caring for people with all kinds of viruses, and they are well tested. Most people who get infected with any virus, including coronavirus, will be able to heal by following these guidelines and the other things we're talking about that support the immune system. Step 4. I've given you a lot of things to think about and to do during this seminar, and now you've reached step 4, the part where you don't have to do anything except be grateful for your functioning immune system. So let's do just a little more tapping. Hand over the heart, other hand tapping the top of the head, a little emotional freedom technique. And say 3 times, thank you, immune system. Thank you, immune system. Thank you, immune system. When your immune system experiences a virus, it remembers for the next time. It creates what are called antibodies that recognize the virus if it tries to threaten you in the future. The green orb with spikes is a model of a virus, and the Y-shaped yellow and blue structures are antibodies that neutralize or kill the virus. The more you support your immune system with the things we've been talking about, the better able it is to create memory, to create antibodies, to protect you the next time that particular virus comes around. Vaccines work to promote the creation of antibodies to particular viruses, helping our immune systems prepare for the next home invasion. One of the most important skills that we all need to develop is to learn to listen. Living through a pandemic invites us to learn to listen more deeply to our bodies, to ourselves, and to others. Listening is a skill that does not come naturally to many people, especially when they're stressed. You may have heard the statistic that a patient will speak for between 7 and 17 seconds before the doctor interrupts. This is a good thing to wonder about in yourself when you're having a conversation with someone else. How many seconds do you listen to somebody before you interrupt, give advice, make a comment? Listening is a skill that's essential to being a good healthcare practitioner, a good friend, a good family member, and a good student. Dr. Capasso has asked me to describe for you an exercise that you'll be engaging in as part of your work in this course. The exercise is called Generous and Reflective Listening. In this webinar format, we cannot do the full exercise right now, but I want to walk you through the setup. I've also written it in your handout, so you can follow along with me as I describe the exercise to you. You'll be given a partner and asked to set up a video conference meeting. As best you can, look into one another's eyes, focusing on the camera of the computer or your mobile device. Re-engage your 3-part breath that you've been doing throughout this seminar, placing one hand over your heart and the other hand over your lower belly. The first thing to notice is how you feel having this connection with another person. So give yourselves a few minutes to settle into that experience. The exercise takes 20 to 25 minutes, which is organized into 4 experiences of approximately 5 minutes each. During the first 5 minutes, one person in the pair becomes the speaker and speaks about a topic. Dr. Capasso tells me that you've been keeping a journal about your lives during this coronavirus pandemic. Choose something you've been writing about or feeling or experiencing during the pandemic and speak for 5 minutes about that. The other partner is the listening partner. That person listens and maintains eye contact. This is the generous listening part of the exercise. As the listener, notice how it feels to listen, really listen to the person speaking. As the speaker, how does it feel to be listened to without interruption for 5 whole minutes? Then you switch roles and the listener becomes the speaker and the speaker becomes the listener. The listener may jot a few notes to remember certain details about the story because these may be useful in the reflective listening part of the exercise. After each person has listened and spoken for 5 minutes, then the listener takes 5 minutes to share what he or she heard during the generous listening part of the experience. This is the reflective listening part of the exercise. You might start that with a phrase like, I heard you tell me. Tell as much of the story as you can remember hearing. Once you're finished, the speaker will fill in anything you forgot to mention. Throughout the exercise, pay attention to how you're feeling and report that to your partner. Dr. Kapasa will give you details about when this exercise needs to be done. And feel free to write me about your experience using the contact information that I gave you in your handout. In this time of pandemic, we're reminded that our only real defense to novel viruses is a healthy body, clear mind, and connected spirit. The conventional medicine system has support therapies like oxygen and ventilators that can give our bodies temporary help. At the moment, there is no available cure in conventional medicine. No magic medicines, no vaccines. Those may be developed in the coming months and years. For now, our focus is on what we can do for ourselves and what we can do for others. Such as cardiovascular disease and cancer. And we may, in the end, develop a vaccine and treatments for coronavirus. Our first line of defense is always a healthy body, mind, and spirit. Healthy people simply do much better in overcoming disease, whatever drugs, surgeries, and other therapies modern science has to offer. So we can best support our survival as individuals through self-care in the realms of food, movement, and mind, body, spirit disciplines. Moreover, we can help others to do so by setting a good example through our own behaviors and by teaching in our personal and professional roles. All these self-care practices become more prevalent, and as they do, we will contribute to the overall health of our society and our planet. Many years ago, the infinity sign came to me in a dream. A powerful dream. In the days following the dream, I explored what this symbol meant. Connection, evolution, possibility. The more I worked with the symbol, the more I realized that it was helping to guide me to develop an integrative approach to my own health and one that I could share with others. That approach brings together the best in conventional medicine, whole food, plant-based eating, movement of our bodies, and mind, body, spirit disciplines. Looking at health in this way allows us to connect with the power that is within us to heal, the power that is within us to connect with others with whom we can form a healthcare team. That team may be made up of professionals, friends, and family members. No matter how we educate ourselves and who we choose to join us, we are first and foremost the central member of our healthcare team. Place one hand over your heart and begin tapping your other hand on the top of your head. Feel your feet grounded to the floor and your seat connected to the chair. Bring in your 3-part breath. Inhale into your lower belly, ribs, chest, and then exhale. And read these affirmations with me. I am learning. I am teaching myself new things. I am aware that I have power within me. I am connecting to my inner healer. I am connecting to the doctor who lives within me.